Thank you very much for joining us joining us again today. We are honored and privileged to have you watch this program. Last week, I had notified you and highlighted the fact that the Spirit of the Lord had led me to really focus on the issues of governance and leadership as they relate to Africa and put a pause on the theme of the kingdom for a couple of weeks. And so last week we laid a foundation on what we're going to be dealing with in this theme of governance and leadership as it relates to South Africa and Africa. We laid a prophetic foundation basing it on the three major feasts of Israel: the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Weeks, and the Feast of Tabernacles. We were able to really shine light in terms of what it is those feasts represents, and which day which day the Lord has migrated us into. And so we wanted to really figure out, prophetically speaking, as to what day it is today. So we wanted to prophetically expound on that so that all of us are agreed on what day it is, so that as Africa moves forward, she is clear on what it is that is important for her to do and understand. And of course, the same holds for South Africa. As South Africa moves forward, she must know what it is, what day it is, what it is that God expects of her. One of the concluding remarks we had made last week was to say, Africa has entered her 50th year, that is the Jubilee. She has entered the Sabbath of Sabbaths. She has entered the day of rejuvenation, the day of recuperation. She has entered the day of being made whole again. She has entered the day of restoration and the day of justice. Because the Jubilee and the Tabernacles, we connected them, number one, on the basis of them happening on the 7th month, in the 7th month, and both of them happening on the 10th day. Now, the Jubilee was also seen as a day of justice. Why? Because anyone who in the previous 49 years had had their family lands taken from them, experienced a restoration in the 50th year. So the Jubilee was the day of justice. I have spoken at length on these issues previously, but the Holy Spirit instructed me to speak on these issues again. And so we've got to understand the importance, the symbolism of that which the Jubilee represents. The day of justice, the day of restoration. It is the day of being made whole again. It is the day of harvest. Remember, we are connecting the Feast of Tabernacles, which Tabernacles was celebrated at the time of the final harvest of the year. So this is a day of harvest. What we said last week was a lot of souls are going to come to Christ because of the season that we have entered into. It's a day of harvest. A lot of souls are going to come to Christ. You remember that we indicated that Pentecost represented the first fruit being baptized of the Holy Ghost, the 120, the first harvest, the first believers. And so the Tabernacles represents the greatest harvest of all time, the final harvest, the greatest revival of all time. Now, what we want to highlight again is to say any political program, any program of governance that is not built around understanding what day it is, that program has a way of stumbling into failures. So I'm saying any political program of governance and leadership that is not built on the basis of a particular, a certain spiritual blueprint. Because the whole thing of understanding times and seasons is a spiritual exercise. Why did the governance of Joseph work in Egypt? Because it was a governance based on the understanding of times. When the king Pharaoh invited his wise men to come and interpret his dreams, and they could not. And then an invitation was extended to Joseph to come and interpret the dream. The interpretation of the dream spans a political program. It activates a political program that says, now that the dream has been interpreted in this fashion, here is what we are going to do politically in order to meet the requirements of the season that has just been indicated to us to be coming. So I'm simply saying, when a political program is not informed by a clear spiritual program, by a clear prophetic program, it has a way of missing the mark and therefore collapsing and failing. Now, what does it mean that Africa and South Africa have entered the Jubilee? What does that mean in practical terms? Because this is a spiritual language. What it means is issues of economic redress are not just political matters. They have become matters that are relevant to the window, the spiritual prophetic window that is open right now. This is a moment of redress. It's a moment of redress because Jubilee represents redress. It represents a moment of being made whole again. And therefore, if we do not develop political programs that speak to what the season has been opened to, then we are going to have a problem. And of course, this is also reconciliation. Because reconciliation speaks to the issues of the nation being made whole, because our nation is broken on racial lines. And reconciliation brings wholeness to the notion of nationality, the whole concept of nationality, because we cannot move as one people unless we attend to issues of reconciliation between races. And of course we know that reconciliation is not going to be possible without economic redress. Because the whole misconception of one race being superior to the other is a misconception that is born of two things. It is born of dispossession, and it is born of it's an epistemological fallacy. It's false knowledge. It's an epistemological fallacy. It's a fallacy of it's a knowledge base that is compromised. In other words, it's knowledge not built on truth. And therefore, because of those issues of epistemological deficits and issues of economic dispossession, then the two get married, and then they produce a state where other people look inferior and the other looks superior. So we must deal with the issues of economic dispossession, because as soon as you deal with that, when everyone has experienced redress, people are less likely to think of the other as inferior if they possess same material things. They seem to live the same quality of life. It's quite hard, and of course I'm not underestimating the spirit of pride and the complex of the superiority complex, because of course I'm sure you have experienced a situation where for no reason, but someone thought they were better than you, for no reason. There was no evidence to that effect, but they still thought they were better than you. But I'm simply saying, under normal circumstances, someone would have to materially be possessing things that are inferior to those you possess for you to really think you are better than them. And so we must attend to that. Issues of economic redress. But number two, the public space must also be inundated, be flooded with correct knowledge. We must be able to debate these issues so that we are able to win one another. Debate race in a manner that is not hostile. Debate issues of race in a manner that is not divisive. debate issues of race in a manner that is not tribal, ethnic, or in a manner that is not provincial, but debate them in a manner that says we must find one another as a country. We must find one another as a people. We must forge a common identity as a nation. Those are very important things, and I think the church should be part of that. And I think political parties must make an effort to bring the nation together. And I'm not saying in our attempt to bring the nation together, we must not confront incidents where racism manifests itself. I'm not saying we must not be truthful to one another. No. I'm simply saying we must both be truthful and be compassionate at the same time. We don't necessarily need to be hostile in order to be truthful. We can be both truthful and compassionate at the same time. Speaking the truth in love. That's what maturity is all about. And in Ephesians chapter 4, there is a church there that speaks the truth in love. It's the church that has come to a place of speaking truth, and it speaks it in love. And therefore, this is a day of reconciliation. This is a day of economic redress. And again, Africa must be very careful not to continue to be a victim of the Berlin Conference, where Africa was partitioned into colonies. So Africa must begin to migrate away from those borders, the Berlin borders. Now, the Berlin Conference of 1884 partitioned Africa into colonies under European colonial powers. And Africa must forge a new strategy, a strategy of working together. Africa must not be seen to be either looking eastwards, looking to China, or looking northwards to Russia. And Africa must not be seen also to be looking towards America, westwards. We must be seen to be looking inwards. It's time for us to do our things together. Increase Africa's intra-trade. The trade we do amongst ourselves, increase that. Increase manufacturing. Can you imagine if we stopped importing stuff from China and we begin to manufacture these things in Africa? And that can be done. Africa must establish common defense. Strategic places in Africa, that is your ports, your seaports, should be under the defense of the common defense of Africa's various militaries. issues of agriculture. You've got countries like Zimbabwe, great soil, great climate. Why can't the Zimbabwe be supported to produce for Africa? South Africa, we ourselves have great soils across various provinces. Some of our climatic conditions in various regions is perfect to produce certain crops. Why can't we do that? You go to the Congo, the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, a lot can be produced in that country is perfect for certain crops. Minerals, you go to the Congo, you have copper there. You have all types of minerals. Why can't the DRC be supported to do what it is best at? We ourselves as South Africa have a lot of minerals underground. And when we must also deal with issues of which multinational companies do we allow to exploit our minerals? And again, that is very important because we must be clear about how much stake do our governments hold in terms of these mineral explorations. As it is, you have your Algeria being good in gas, being good on issues of oil. You have your Nigeria having oil fields all over Nigeria. Now, if Nigeria has expertise in terms of oil explorations, why should us as South Africa not lean on the Nigerians in terms of what it is, our own explorations in the seacoast of Durban, where we are looking for gas and oil? Why can't we lean on our own brothers in Nigeria? Why can't we lean on our own brothers in Algeria so that everything is sourced in-house, is internal? So those are the things that we must begin to think about. And at the level of the AU, this is the agenda that the president, who is presently Cyril Ramaphosa, who is presently the chair of the AU, should begin to advance. The next 20 years will mean a lot for Africa. You know, for Agenda 2063, we can have a situation whereby 2063, we have totally dealt with issues of poverty in Africa. If in the next 10 years, we do these things we are supposed to do, if by 2030, Africa trades with itself fully, by 2030, we have common defense, by 2030, we have issues of one visa across all African states. The next 30 years, from 2030 until 2060, you'll have a situation where we banish poverty from our shores. We'll have a situation where every family in Africa has food on the table. We'll have a situation where every child in Africa can go to school. That is not impossible to do. I'm going to leave it at this for now, and next week we're going to take it from here. May the Lord bless Africa. May the Lord bless South Africa. May the Lord bless Africa's children. Africa's women, Africa's men, Africa's young boys, Africa's young girls. May the Lord bless South Africa's girls and boys, men and women. May this indeed be our day of rejuvenation, our day of restoration, our day of being made whole again. The Lord bless you.